Hello and welcome everybody back to The Sweet Spot. Today it's just my pleasure to introduce Kristin Walker. Honestly, her bio is so long I'm not even going to read it to you right now. You can read it yourself online. However, what you want to know is that she's the host of Mental Health News Radio. She's interviewed leaders in the behavioural health community, such as CEOs of technology companies, counsellors, authors, global experts in the field of behavioural health. Her show is downloaded in over 171 countries, which is so cool, and it continues to reach with inspiring guests from every corner of the world. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Kristin. Hello, Kristin.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. You're in the other spot, not the host, but the guest today.
Right. I like the way you say Walker better than I do, so I love it.
As in my accent?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. I actually have been speaking to so many Americans that I can hear myself changing to speak with an American accent.
I'm too. I'm definitely a mimic.
Anyway, what would you say is the hardest thing about being a working mother for you, Kristin?
Well, guilt.
Yeah.
That always plays a big role. But now that my son is older, he's 26. I wish I had known this back when he was, a young child. But I've let go of the guilt because I was a better mother than I worked.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can backtrack on your guilt and let it go.
Yeah, beautiful. And I like what you said there. You're a better mother because you worked.
Absolutely. I just went through a brain training that's a part of the big mental health agenda in the United States anyway, is about brain function and mental health. And I went through a week-long brain boot camp at a center in the States called Apex Brain Centers. And we discovered I have ADHD, like many people do. And that made a lot of sense that, okay, that's why I needed to work. I need to be perpetually busy all the time. So it helped me as a mother, without knowing it, that I was multitasking consistently. That fits with the ADHD diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, that was actually, a savior for you, as it is for a lot of women, to get out of the house and get away and have that sense of self and independence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. And so you work with a lot of women professionally, and both personally and in the workplace. Can you tell us about the work that you do?
Sure. Oh, boy. Well, because of the radio show, we answer a lot of questions about psychological abuse, especially around abuse in the workplace. So that's our advocacy work. So in that realm, we're answering emails, getting people the help that they need with specialists, clinicians, life coaches that can, help them from a clinical perspective. Deal with these kinds of issues. And then what pays for all of our advocacy is we act as consultants for technology companies that create software for people that work in the mental health profession.
Mm. So what are the main things that are coming through your desk, so to speak, particularly when it comes to women?
Interpersonal relationships, issues at work and at home,
yep.
How those can bleed into each other.
Yep.
Something going on at home is also going to affect you, in your workplace, issues with your children, family, and being able to emotionally regulate. So being able to stop, take a breath, take that time for yourself and not react instantaneously to someone else's behavior. Take a beat and just calm down. I call it my sha-la-la-la. Take that moment for yourself so that you are reacting from a place of peace and strength instead of reacting from a place of anger because of how someone else is treating you.
Yeah, yeah. Which can be difficult when you walk into the front doors of the office and you already have that sick feeling in your stomach about what the day is going to hold because of the
Absolutely.
past. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It can be your past in terms of your past, meaning this new place that you work is triggering events that happened in your past that maybe don't have anything to do with the new people that you work with. But you've got unhealed issues. You haven't gone to therapy to work on those things. So you're just carrying a suitcase with you into this new environment. And because somebody looks like someone that you worked with that was a bad situation, or they smell like them, or they talk kind of like them, or, all of those things can be triggers. And if you don't take the time and do the really hard work of therapy, you're just going to carry that suitcase that gets heavier and heavier and heavier everywhere you go.
So you're quite an advocate for therapy, obviously.
Absolutely.
And working in your personal life probably, and then it moves into your professional life anyway.
The more you can put deposits into your personal bank account,
Yep.
So exercise, nutrition, of course, all of those things that we don't have time to do, but we have to do because doing them actually gives us more time. But also, taking care of your mental and emotional space. That, to me, the stigma around going to therapy is just not there anymore. There's no reason not to go. I don't know how it is in Australia, but I know in the United States, it's very open now to go to therapy, accept that as an option. And I look at it like it's this wonderful cashmere blanket that you're wrapping around yourself. It's all about you. And it's not always comfortable because, dealing with yourself, it's so much easier to get all involved in other people's drama, isn't it?
But it has an element of fun to it as well, doesn't it?
Yes, I had to learn that for myself too. Wow,
Yeah.
I'm getting involved in a lot of other people's stuff that's very unhealthy, and it's draining me. And it's not my job to rescue anyone but myself. And it certainly, I had to take a hard look at, why am I constantly jumping into these messes that really have nothing to do with me? I got plenty of my own.
Yeah, that's right. And look, as women, I think in general, it's a generalization, but we are there for other people, and we do like to save. I'm the flag flying.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many terms, codependency and enabling, and a lot of those terms are overused. They have a negative connotation that comes with them. I don't like to use them. Women do tend to be more of the emotional caretakers of the entire world. It's time to start saying things to ourselves in a much more positive manner about being someone that's a giver. There's nothing wrong with being a giver. How I feel about myself as a human being is fed by how much I give to other people. But what I learned is, if I don't give to myself first, and I call it radical self-care, then I don't have anything to give to anyone else. And that's what feeds me. So the more I give to me first, which seems selfish, but that's the last thing I could ever be. But the more that I feed this person, the more I have to give everybody else. So it's a win-win if you look at it that way.
Beautiful. So what does radical self-care mean to you?
Oh, wow. Getting enough sleep.
Yeah, big one.
Huge. And I mean, put your phone in another room.
Yeah.
Turn off the TV, light candles, play music, whatever it is that you can do to get yourself into a really relaxed place. Read, but not on a digital device. This is what I learned in my brain boot camp. Don't read anything that has a backlight. Read an actual book.
Yep.
So sleep would be one. Actually eating. My issue is not that I overeat. It's that I'll go 8 hours without eating, and then I'm starving, and I have this huge meal that's called the sumo wrestler's diet. And that's not healthy for anyone.
No one wants to be a sumo wrestler.
That's right. So, eating well and eating throughout the day so that your blood sugar and everything is, stabilized throughout the day. That's going to make those emotional triggers not happen so quickly because you're feeding your body the nutrients it needs. So you're not running on empty, and then somebody comes and gets in your face about something and you immediately react because you've got nothing protecting you. You've got no food in your body. You haven't had good sleep. Maybe you drank too much wine. I've never done that, by the way. But those are things, just those little things that you can do for yourself, like eating, of course, sleeping, all of that, but also disengaging from toxic places, toxic people. They may not be a toxic person, meaning that they're, a personality disordered person, which is why our show, by the way, is downloaded like it is, because we talk about that subject. It may not necessarily be that this person that you're engaged with is a toxic person, but they're toxic for you right now for whatever reason. And so disengaging from that, giving yourself space, that's probably one of the biggest things you can do to care for yourself.
So what are the signs of a toxic person?
Oh, there are so many.
We probably know them, obviously, but I think you, because you speak to so many people, you've got such an insight that there are things that we can be reminded of.
Yeah, I'd say your gut is going to be the first thing. Unfortunately, women especially learn to ignore those red flags. So someone could have shown us 18 million signs that they're not a safe person for us to be around, but we make excuses over and over and over.
Yeah.
So I always say, ratchet it back to listening to the third time that you got a gut warning about someone.
Yeah.
And that, it's okay if someone strikes you off, they say things that make you uncomfortable. There's little put downs in what they say. I'll give you an example. I had someone, I had dressed up in a beautiful pink suit. I love the color pink. And when I came into the office, she said, "Oh, that's a good color for you. I don't know about anyone else." Just those kinds of little digs here and there that you go, And then there's all the way to, I worked with a CEO that no matter how hard I worked, he was never going to say thank you or acknowledge anything that I did. And yet he would acknowledge my work ethic in front of other people, and in front of other people talk down about me. And so I would continue to hear this loop of dysfunction and wonder, what's going on? That's a term that's out there in the world of toxic abuse is gaslighting. That's a term anyone should Google. Those kinds of things where someone says something to your face, it's completely different than what they're saying behind your back and what they might be saying to other people about you. Because we're trying to control other people's perception of you. And it's usually out of envy and jealousy on their part. You shine so bright that, they, instead of being someone that says, "Hey, I want to be around this person. They shine so brightly. I'll shine brightly with them." Instead, they have to kind of cut off some of your brightness because it's too bright for them.
Yeah.
And so how they do that is by just cutting you down, little digs over time, again and again. And what happens when we don't notice this right away is it actually does affect our own self-esteem.
Yeah.
And it usually puffs them up, especially as women. We're so good at making other people feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And when you're around someone that you're constantly having to puff up while they're consistently working you down,
yep,
they're taking your shine and leaving you with nothing. And once you go through several of these relationships, you figure out what's happening. You realize, okay, I'm not going to give my shine to anyone else. I'm gonna save it for me, and I'm gonna give it to people that appreciate it and that allow me to be all of who I am, and they aren't jealous or envious of that. We shine brighter together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how can we really transmute our workplaces with a toxic individual so that it can be, so that we can continue working there?
Ways to do that is to limit conversation with that person. We tend to, as women especially, we tend to tell too much about ourselves. We over reveal, especially our personal lives. We jump into doing that way too quickly with people, or we fill in the gaps in conversation where someone else is being quiet, and we'll fill it in with more noise about what's going on with ourselves.
Right.
And I think what's really important is to calm down.
Yeah.
You don't need to fill in any conversational voids. Keep yourself to yourself. And I say this knowing that I share my entire life on my radio show, but I choose to do that. And it's for, a select person that I'm speaking with. But when when you know that someone hasn't been healthy for you, zip it. Don't give out as little information about yourself personally as possible, because they're looking for ways to dig at you. Mm-hmm. And the best way to do that is to keep a record of all the personal history you've ever shared with them.
Right. Yep.
So being quiet, not engaging in toxic behavior, saying no. Oh my gosh, women especially. If we could make it a law across the globe that it is okay to say no, that would be a wonderful.
Yeah.
Because you're even saying no and your mouth is moving to the no when you're saying yes instead. It's so hard for us to do that, but it's really okay to just say no.
I think a lot of us suffer from that, and that's where our boundaries are impacted, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So saying no in the workplace.
Yes, saying no in the workplace and saying no at home as well.
And no at home, yeah.
If it's a boss asking you something that, makes you uncomfortable, get more details around it until you are comfortable. But, you can say no there too. Boundaries are, extremely, extremely important. And the more we hold our boundaries with people, the healthier we feel. And that's another way of putting those deposits into our personal bank account. Every time you hold a boundary, you're putting in a deposit into you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be scary to do.
Oh yeah. It's practice. It takes practice. I had to learn. I think I had a good run in my early 40s. I'm 46 now, but an entire lifetime of always saying yes and not having good boundaries with people. I ended up in a horrible just an atrocious working environment, but I will be thankful for it for the rest of my days, because I learned all about what it means to have boundaries for yourself and to really emotionally care for yourself. And a lot of it stems from with people that have damage in their childhood, as an example, that you have wounds that you haven't healed, and you're carrying those around with you. The best thing that you can do for that wounded child that lives in anyone that's had trauma from their background, the best thing that you can do to tell that child that you've got their back finally. You couldn't when you were a kid because you were a kid, but you certainly can as an adult. And the best way to do that is to have boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. I have this joke in my life that I needed so much therapy, I became a therapist. It was cheaper.
I interview them. That's how I get my therapy. Really, let's talk about this week. This is Kristin's issue this week.
Yes, I agree. And when we do have issues, talking about them, whether it is with a therapist or with someone who's wise about that, it doesn't have to be a therapist. We can get a lot of information and a lot of healing from other people as well.
Yeah, the emotional validation from sharing your story, whatever it may be, with someone, it's hard when you have come from toxic backgrounds, and so you're literally surrounded by unhealthy people, and so you really don't have a safe place to tell your story to, because you're so unboundaried that you haven't been able to attract anyone really healthy into your life, that's when you say, okay, I need a professional to help me develop these tools so that I can start picking out healthy people to be around.
It's great.
There's no...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it really is one step at a time as well, isn't it? We can put so much pressure on ourselves that, now we're looking into this. Isn't our world meant to be so much better? Or is it step by step, isn't it?
It's step by step, and you don't get rid of things overnight. I mean, I have the same issues come up for me again and again and again. It's just that they come up softer now. They come up less in your face than they used to, because I look at them. Oh, interesting. I like telling people, practice being an observer of your own life. Instead of walking around just being reactive to everything, be a casual observer. Oh, okay. I just did this, or I just reacted this way. Be the shrink on your shoulder, your own shoulder, and examine that. Why did I do that? It helps you with that emotional regulation piece that a lot of us miss out on, because you're being conscious about what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're thinking throughout your day. And it's tiring. Believe me, you'll definitely sleep when you play an active role in how you consciously behave every moment of the day.
Yeah, right.
But it will teach you how to be more grounded, how to love yourself and honor yourself more. And it'll teach you how to instantly notice when there's someone that's come into your life that really you want to learn the lesson quickly. They came in for a reason to teach you one more area you need to work on. Yep. But you want to learn that quickly and then bless them on their way.
Yes. That's great. And, looking at our lives as one big healing lesson is a nice way to view it as well.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. I had a friend of mine, Thomas, a close friend, say to me, man, he's 10 years younger than I am. I say, honey, you got a long way to go. Just don't get me started. But he said, man, what age do we get to just stop and we know everything and we just can relax? I said, when you're in the grave.
Yes.
My mom at 68 is still examining things that, she wants to look at within herself. And I called her out on aging herself the other day. She said, I don't want to deal with this issue. I'm 68. I'm too old to have to deal with this. And I went, oh, don't say that to me. You're my mother. When I'm 68, I want to still be examining my issues and striving to be a healthier, happier person. I don't want it to stop until I am no longer breathing. So I think that's part of it too, is this is what life is. This is a journey. That's what we're here for.
And seeing it as the adventure of it rather than the stress of it.
Exactly.
Which is not always easy to do, let's face it.
No,
when you're in the thick of it.
Yes. It's very difficult when you're emotionally invested in an unhealthy situation or with an unhealthy person and you're not being your best healthy self either. It's very, very difficult to pull back and remember, oh, right, this is all part of the exam of life. I'm taking a test right now. It's test number 857.
On this topic.
On this topic, exactly. I'll work on 942 on the other topic tomorrow.
That's right.
And I think, too, realizing that there are some people that are here that have no ability to grow or evolve. They stay. That's when we look at a toxic person. They stay, I call them emotionally impotent. They stay at this, like a 5-year-old in a grown-up person's body. Yep. And we as women try to rescue those people like crazy because we want to help them grow up, because everybody wants to evolve and grow up. And the reality is not everyone does and not everyone can. So again, turning it around and going, okay, why did I need to engage? And how can I turn this around and make this a lesson about what I needed for me, and stop focusing on this person.
Yeah. And what I'm getting from the conversation as well is it's all about our own self-awareness.
Right.
When we work on ourselves, the world outside us changes. When we,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does. Your life can change like that. And you know what, how it can change like that? By changing the thoughts that you think about your life. It doesn't take money or a better job or a better anything in order to change what's going on in here. A single thought. It's free. Those are free of charge. So working on how we process what goes on up here is going to help, what's going on in here.
And as you also say, when we're vigilant at looking at these thoughts, we'll sleep well in the evening.
You're tired. I'm telling you, when you examine everything you think and the way that you think and how you react to people, and really take a hard look at things you don't want to admit or acknowledge about yourself. I'm no saint either. You're tired at the end of the day. You've run a marathon that day. So
yeah, it's great. What if you were to just in closing have a few tips for our viewers, what would they be, Kristin?
Do something to honor that child in you. I don't care how wonderful your childhood was. If it was fabulous and amazing, there's still parts of you that are wounded from something that happened. So if it's buying some stuffed animal that you had as a kid that you put on your bed and it just reminds you, just little reminders of, hey, there's still a piece of you that needs you to show up and be protective and be the adult that you needed that maybe you didn't have when you were younger. That would be one thing. Any way to honor that younger version of yourself. That's part of, loving, showing yourself love. And that is the key to everything, my friend. Having that love for yourself. So I would say that, and reading everything that you can get your hands on about nurturing and caring for yourself. Listen to Mental Health News Radio, listen to your shows. I'm sure you're going to have authors and so on, but anything that, helps you remember, all right, where's me in my life? I'm giving to everybody else.
Beautiful. Good advice. Yes, and speaking of your radio program, we do have a link to that on this page as well, so people can go and hear more, other experts speaking about these kind of topics, and others as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Any chance that we can share the great work that people like you are doing out in the world, we're all about that. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being part of the Sweet Spot today, Kristin Walker.
I love it, Walker. I'm going to say that.
It was so great to speak to you, and boundaries, and taking care of our boundaries, taking care of our mindsets, and taking out toxic relationships wherever possible, at least working on ourselves so that then that toxic relationship transforms as well. It's been such great advice for us today.
Great.
So
well, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
I'll see you all tomorrow night for our next interview, and thanks for watching the Sweet Spot today. See you.